Hello, good evening, and welcome to my latest live session. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight's session is going to be all about the mortgage and home buying related costs. Okay, so we're going to give you an A to Z of the costs that you can expect when you're buying a new house, and also if you're selling one as well. So just going to wait for a few of you to tune in and build up the audience a little bit. Firstly, just want to say thank you for those of you that do tune in. If you're finding the content useful, guys, please give it a little like, a thumbs up and a share. You know, if you like it, the chances are people within your connections and network will like it too. So that would be great. Last week's videos got something insane like 4,500 views, which is incredible. I was looking through some of the comments of some of my previous videos, and I wanted to share with you guys my two favourite comments so far. I think you might find them amusing. So comment number one was, nice guy, bit boring. So it's got a point, to be fair, probably quite a fair and true reflection. So there we go. Don't think he's my biggest fan. And the other comment that I got was, have you thought about going to your next fancy dress party as Tyson Fury? So it's not the first time I've had that. I've had a few people say I've got a little bit of a resemblance to Tyson Fury. Not so sure that's a good thing. I don't know. You tell me. Do I look like Tyson Fury? You let me know. Right. So there's a few of you joining in now. So we're going to kick off. So just to confirm, those of you that joined now, I'm going to be talking about the mortgage and home buying related costs. So we're going to run through them with you now. If you've got any questions as I run through tonight's session, feel free to pop them in the comments. Be happy to answer them live on air, or I can feel free to contact me privately as well. So cost, the first lot of costs you've got to consider are lender fees. Okay, these could be called anything from a lender fee to an arrangement fee to an application fee to a booking fee. A lender fee encompasses all of those. Okay, now that could be anything from £0 up to £2,000. Okay, quite often lenders will offer two options. They'll offer a product with no fees but with a slightly higher interest rate, and then they'll offer another product with a fee but a lower interest rate. Okay, any good mortgage broker or mortgage advisor will do a true cost comparison of the two products and let you know what the total cost you would pay would be, or the lowest total cost you would pay would be on both options. Because often you can see a mortgage product and it's an incredibly low rate of interest, but if the lender's going to charge you a fortune of a fee to get it, the overall deal might not be as good as it first seems. So you always need to look at the true total cost. So anything from £0 to £2,000, the most common fee that you're going to be charged is around about £1,000. Now, often that fee can be added to the balance, so you haven't necessarily got to pay it up front. But of course, if you do add it to the mortgage balance, you're going to be paying interest on top of that and end up paying back more. So again, it's a conversation for you to have between you and your advisor. So that's fee number one. Fee number two is a valuation fee. So your lender will insist on conducting a mortgage valuation to ensure that the property that you're purchasing is suitable security for mortgage purposes. They also want to know that it's worth what you're paying for it as well. Okay, now often lenders don't charge anything for that. They'll do them for free these days. Or if you're buying under sort of £500,000, it might be a couple of £100 to do it. Okay. If you require a specialist lender because your circumstances are complex, or you've got adverse credit, or you're buying an expensive house, you know, around the £1 million mark, then you could pay anything up to £1,000 to a lender for a valuation fee. Okay, that's the mandatory valuation. You have the right to conduct your own separate survey and separate valuation if you want to, but it's not mandatory. Okay, so that's number two, the valuation fee. Number three is a mortgage advice fee or a mortgage broker fee, okay, if you're using one. So this could be anything from £0. Some brokers don't charge anything, others charge a fixed fee, some charge a percentage fee, anything up to 1% of the amount you're going to borrow. I think the important thing to note here is that you ask the broker or advisor what they're charging, so you know what you're going to pay them, and actually what's included in that fee, because different brokers offer different levels of service along the way. Obviously, I'm slightly biased. I am a mortgage broker. You probably know that already. So just think about this. If you use a mortgage broker, and a lot of mortgage brokers have access to products which you can't get direct even with the lender or anywhere else on the high street, if they can improve your interest rate by just 0.1%, on an average £200,000 mortgage over 25 years, just 0.1%, that could save you over £2,200. Okay, let's say you're paying the broker £500 to find that deal for you and implement everything from start to finish. You're going to be making a net saving of just over £1,700. So there we go. So broker fee is number 3. Number 4 is the legal costs. So the cost of appointing a solicitor to do the legal work for you, because buying a property requires some legal, it's a legal transaction, and it requires some legal work in terms of the due diligence on the property. So solicitors will conduct a number of searches, from things like environmental searches to local authority searches. They also need to add your name to the title deeds and register with the land registry as the official owner. So you will need to appoint a solicitor. They will also do some work on behalf of the lender as well. Now, the cost of a solicitor will really vary. If you want to use a big national firm, they work on volume and they can keep their costs down because they work on volume. What you're probably going to find with that is it's going to be a bit cheaper. Okay, but you might have to do a bit more of the work yourself because they work on volume. You're a number. It's going to be, as long as you know what you're getting yourself into, that's fine. But you could be paying £500 less, but you might need to be willing to spend a lot of time on the phone and giving them a prod and being a bit more proactive. Or you might want to use more of a bespoke firm that's going to hold your hand right through the process. Maybe a local firm that you can go into and sit down and speak with, and they'll spend the time to let you understand the process. You're probably going to pay a bit more for that. There's no right or wrong answer. Everyone's different. But on the solicitor's cost, you're going to be looking at anything from the lower end of £1,250 up to say £2,000 for kind of a standard property purchase, up to £750,000. Above that, you're going to pay a bit more. Okay, so that's solicitor's cost, number 4, and you're looking somewhere between £1,250 and £2,000 for a solicitor. Okay, again, depending on whether you go national, big firm, volume, probably not the best service in the world, or whether you go local, bespoke, a bit more hand holding, going to be a bit more expensive. Number 5 is stamp duty. Now, a lot of you won't pay stamp duty for any purchases before March 2021. So at the time of recording in July 2020, there's 0 stamp duty payable up to £500,000. You will then pay some stamp duty thereafter. And if it's an additional property you're buying, because you're a landlord or you're buying a second home, holiday home, then you will pay a surcharge on the whole amount, which is 3% up to the first £500,000. I will put a stamp duty calculator link in the comments, so if you're watching this back on replay and you want to know how much stamp duty you're going to pay, check in the comments and you'll be able to calculate it really quickly. Okay, on that note, I'm going to put all of these costs in the show notes and in the comments so you can revert back to them and have a look at them at a glance. So that's number 5, which is stamp duty. So that concludes the main costs of buying a house. You have got some optional costs that you might consider, such as removals. So some people will just remove themselves, hire a van, or just stick it in the back of the car and do the removals themselves. If you want to hire a removal firm, their costs are going to be dependent on the level of service you want. If they're coming in your house and packing everything up for you, boxing it all up and moving you from the south of the country to the north of the country, it's going to cost a lot more than if you do all your own packing and they're just picking it up and moving you 2 minutes down the road. Okay, so get some quotes from some removal companies there. That's an optional cost. Okay, if you are selling a property as well as buying a property, then you're going to have some additional costs we need to consider. Okay, so I would always recommend that you use an estate agent to sell your house. Okay, and a good local estate agent is going to charge you anywhere between 1% to 1.5% of the selling price, and that could be inclusive or exclusive of VAT. You need to ask the question. Okay, if you use a good agent, they're likely to get you a higher selling price, and then they're going to pay for themselves anyway. So I would always say, use an agent. But yeah, you're going to be looking at somewhere between 1 to 1.5% of the selling cost as an expense. And then you need to consider whether that includes or excludes VAT and add that on as well. And then also, if you're selling a house, the cost of the legal work for that. So you'll need to appoint a solicitor, not only for the buying, but also for the selling. So the most cost effective way is normally to use the same firm to do the both buying and selling together. Sale and purchase, you're probably looking at somewhere between £2,000 to £2,500 collectively. If you're just selling, then probably somewhere between sort of 750 and 1250, I would say, on that. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. If you're still with me and I've not bamboozled you to death and rambled on too much, give me a thumbs up to say that makes sense and that's useful. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'm going to do a quick summary and happy to answer any questions now. So just to summarise then, what are the costs when buying a property and taking out a mortgage? So mortgage and property buying related costs. The main ones are a lender fee. So this could be anything from £0 to £2,000 for a lender fee. Okay, most lenders will offer two different options. They'll offer a product with a higher interest rate but no setup costs. They'll also offer a product with a very low interest rate but with some setup costs. Any good mortgage broker or advisor will do a true cost comparison for both products and recommend to you which one is the most cost effective option. Quite often, looking at the one with the lowest rate of interest, if it's got a whopping fee, it may not actually be as cost effective as it first appears. So again, a good broker will tell you which one. On average, most lenders are charging around about £1,000 for a lender fee. Okay, that might also be known as an application fee or an arrangement fee or a booking fee. Okay, number two is a valuation fee. The lender is going to want to survey and value the property as part of the mortgage process to make sure that your property is suitable security for mortgage purposes and to make sure that it's worth what you're paying for it. So a lot of lenders these days will do this for free, so you might not pay anything, but it could be up to £1,000 if you're buying a high-end property, or perhaps we're using a specialist lender because your circumstances are a little bit complex. Okay, so that could be anything from £0 to £1,000. Number three, yeah, that is free. Broker fees. Okay, if you're using a broker or a mortgage advisor, again, this could be anything from £0 up. It could be a fixed fee. It could be anything up to 1% of the amount that you're borrowing. I'm obviously a mortgage broker, so I think it's beneficial to use mortgage brokers. Not everyone will agree, but I think it's beneficial because if your broker can get you hold of a deal that's just 0.1% cheaper than a deal elsewhere, on a typical mortgage of £200,000 over a 25-year period, that's going to save you over £2,200. Okay, let's say that broker's charging you, say, £500 for their services to not only find that mortgage, to arrange it and implement it from start to finish, so you haven't got to do anything. Then your net savings still over £1,700. Bargain. So that's number three. Number four is the solicitor's cost, so the legal work that's involved to buy a property. So you're going to need to appoint a solicitor to do all the legal work, do some searches for you, add your name to the title deeds, and they'll also do some legal work on behalf of the lender. Depending on whether you use a national firm or a local firm, you could be looking at anything between £1,250, so £1,250, up to £2,000 for your solicitor's legal costs. Okay, that's number four. Number five is stamp duty, which won't apply at the time of recording to most of you because it's currently 0% up to £500,000. Unless it goes above £500,000, then you start paying stamp duty, or if it's an additional property or second home. I'm going to put a stamp duty calculator link in the comments so you can check if any stamp duty is payable if you're watching this back on replay. Optional costs, if you want to appoint a removals company to help you move, then you need to consider the cost of that. Their services and the costs are going to vary. If you want them to come in and wrap and box everything up for you, and you're moving from the south coast to the Highlands in Scotland, it's going to cost a lot more than if you're doing all your own packing and boxing and you just want them to move you 5 minutes down the road. So get some quotes for that. Again, it's an optional, it's a choice. If you are selling as well as buying, then there's also going to be some cost. I would recommend that you appoint a well-known reputable local estate agent. They could charge you anything between 1% and 1.5% of the sale price. You need to find out whether that's inclusive or exclusive of VAT. Ordinarily, if you pick a good agent, they will normally sell for a higher price than you may have been able to achieve elsewhere, and therefore they normally pay for themselves. And then also the cost of the legal work for selling. We talked about the legal costs for buying, but if you're selling, you've also got legal costs there. The most cost-effective way is to use the same solicitor for the buying and the selling. Overall, you could be looking at somewhere between sort of £2,000 to £2,500 collectively for all of it. Okay, so that's in a nutshell. That is the costs that you need to be considering when taking a mortgage and buying a house and or selling possibly. If you've got any questions or queries on the mortgage process, the costs, the home buying process, the costs, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I would say I will see you the same time next week, but you won't. It's my birthday. I'm going to be 35. So I've got a week off next week, but I'll be back the week after at 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this content useful, then please think about giving it a little like or a share. I'd really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Love you all.